This movie was amazing. It was actually one of the best movies that I've watched all year.
Yay,
and I
thank
really,
you.
Why now? Why do this now?
I think the same reason I wanted to make this movie is the same reason people want to see this movie. There's something deep in my heart that felt connected to Mr. Rogers in this moment in time, and you know, it's a scary moment historically. I think we're in a really divided political time. Things feel really scary. I'm a mom. I'm trying to raise a young kid and make sure they're kind in this world, and it feels often like we don't have a lot of role models. You know, we don't have a lot of people telling us how to be good, how to be grown-ups, how to be who we want to be in this world. And Mr. Rogers' message just felt more resonant to me than ever.
Right. I liked that the movie was not just a biopic about Fred Rogers' life, but instead it had a whole entire story to this. Why did you decide to go that route instead of a biopic?
The thing about a character like Mr. Rogers, who's so evolved, so good, he's found himself, he doesn't have any issues.
Yeah.
He can't be the lead of a movie. He can't be a protagonist, but he makes a great antagonist. He elicits change from the people around him. He has this way of finding somebody in the moment when they need him and like shaking them up, changing their life in a really intense way.
Yeah.
And that's what he did for Lloyd Vogel. That's what he did for Tom Junot, who the character was based on. You know, he really changed his life. And so I always thought of him as the antagonist of the story, actually.
As a director,
Yeah.
you know, Fred Rogers was respected by so many people.
Yeah.
Did you feel any added pressure
Yes.
to portray? I'm sure you
There was so much pressure. There was responsibility of like, everyone I would talk to would say, "You're making a movie about Mr. Rogers." First, everyone would say, "Please don't ruin my childhood." And then people would say to me like, this has to be good.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how much Mr. Rogers meant to me? I thought Mr. Rogers was my dad, people would say, you know? And I felt this immense responsibility. There was no way I could make a movie that could represent all things to everybody that Mr. Rogers did. So all I could do was tell my version of a Mr. Rogers movie.
Yeah.
I could try to get to know him as closely as I could and try to feel like I was connecting to some truth there. And I hope, you know, the specificness of this story can be universal.
What do you think Mr. Rogers would say about today's climate?
I think he would be encouraging listening. I think he would be encouraging us to talk. I think in our Twitter age, we're not talking very much.
Yeah.
We're kind of call out culture, scream it in the void, cancel culture. We're not in a communication culture, you know? We're not hearing each other or letting each other make mistakes
Yeah.
and forgive, you know? I'm struggling with that in my life too, and I see the value of forgiveness. This movie is about forgiveness.
Yeah. And my last question is, what is just a takeaway that you want the audience to take away from the movie?
I want the movie to help us all reflect on ourselves, on our own childhoods, and to let us get more in touch with our emotional selves.
I loved the movie. Like, I'm just going to say that right now. It was beautiful. I laughed. I cried. I was, like, bawling like a baby in the theater. It was beautiful. What was your overall impression of it?
Well, in watching it or reading the script initially?
Reading the script initially and then watching it.
Right. I was moved. I was moved by the story, especially of Lloyd, who was someone I could relate to. I'm not sure if I should admit to that. And it was a stake of, you know, there was a lot to get your teeth into. His kind of arrested development as a younger man, clearly from the wounding of his father and what he had to overcome, and this kind of chess game that he played with Fred Rogers and the resolution of it.
Right.
It was, you know, it was interesting. It was challenging to me. And then the first time I watch it, I just do this. So I don't really remember the first time. But one of the things that really struck me, and I'm not just saying this, was in having acted with Tom Hanks, who was 2 feet away from you. In watching it, you kind of realize why he's Tom Hanks, because something else happened. He does something that's like alchemy. You go, how do you do that? What is it do you do? What do you do, Tom Hanks?
That's interesting that you said that because so my question was actually, well, like, did he have like a breaking character when, you know, you stopped filming, when he was offset, or was he just like that the entire way through? Because I felt like he just embodied him to the movements, to his hand placement, everything.
No, he's very much, I think he works so hard that it's very easy for him, action and cut.
Yeah.
He's having a laugh,
Yeah.
he's joking on set, and then when action comes, that's when it's like the masterclass. You go, what? What are you? How did you? What are you doing? And it's sort of seamless. I think you forget how good he is because what he does is so effortless and seamless throughout his career that you kind of go, oh, it's Tom Hanks. But when you look back at his kind of canon and work, you see what he's done as a performer. He's incredible.
In the film, you see Lloyd's kind of progression to forgiveness with his father. What is your own personal opinions on forgiveness?
You're talking to a Scorpio.
Yeah. Oh, let me get out.
Bye. Yes. So the word doesn't. I don't even know what that means. Once slighted, forever smited. You know, I have to admit, in my new learnings of Fred Rogers, that it's an incredible part of evolution to evolve.
Yeah.
Personally, because what it, as we see with Lloyd, what it does, it can stunt you in a moment and affect the rest of your life. And it's like a number of those things, like envy or jealousy. It's wasted energy. It doesn't advance you anything. Only forgiveness can, to quote Fred Rogers.
Yeah. So what were your overall thoughts of the movie? I'm going to tell you, I cried. I laughed at some time. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. I really feel like everything that we hope to achieve is the audience's response right now.
Yeah.
And you just can't ask for more than that.
Yeah. I grew up watching Mr. Rogers, and I'm sure you grew up watching Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, heck yeah. Uh-huh.
What do you think were the takeaways from the movie?
Ooh, you know what? A lot that we don't have to be cynical. You know what I mean? That there's a sincerity that comes along with compassion that's okay. You know, there are people who really do seek to know people and empathize and sympathize with people, and that everybody is valid by virtue of you being here. There's, validity to your life and meaning.
Your character was kind of used as a bridge to help Lloyd have this relationship with his father and ultimately forgive his father. What are your thoughts on forgiveness?
I love forgiveness. Here's the thing. No, I'll be real with you. Sometimes I'll forgive something before I even wrap my brain around it. Because if you don't let go of it to a certain degree, I don't know that you can ever really see it objectively. You know what I mean? And there's a real power to forgiveness to say, oh yeah, you did do that thing. I'm actually not gonna let that kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's power. You're really putting a lot of power in your life and releasing somebody. That it is a really great gift to both people involved. You know what I mean? And I mean, you truly do free yourself with forgiveness, and you free yourself from that moment. You know what I mean? I mean, who needs to be carrying along these heavy moments?
Yeah, that's true.
Drudging this thing around when you could be out living your best life.
Right. Now, what have you, I feel like we don't really forgive a lot of people in society. And, we have this whole thing with cancel culture now.
Yeah.
And instead of, really teaching them or, their errors, we like to, oh, nope, you're done.
Right.
What do you think Fred Rogers would say to that?
Oh, boy, he probably wouldn't even know what cancel culture is. But I feel that, he would combat that with things like, there's no right feeling and there's no wrong feeling. You should be able to express feeling. Let's move forward from feeling. Feelings pass. Everyone deserves, as we said, forgiveness.
Yeah.
There would be a sense of you have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not forgiving someone doesn't necessarily mean that person's automatically taking responsibility. What we're really saying is canceling is take responsibility for what you did, right? So let's use that language. You need to take responsibility for that. You know what I mean? And we see you, so do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Susan, for
Thank
sitting
you.
down and talking to me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.